Okay, this is my first time recording a live at this time, so I'm not sure how many people will attend live. So I'm just going to press on with what I'm doing so that if you're watching later, you can just jump straight into it. So the first is a daisy themed Mother's Day card. So I think Mother's Day cards are typically associated with florals, but I am not very good at drawing, so I keep doodles very simplistic. So I think even if you're not particularly good at drawing yourself, this is something that you can do as well. So the pens that I'm going to use are just a black pen and a yellow pen. So starting with the black brush pen, I'm just going to write my message in the middle using a bouncy brush calligraphy style. So I'm just going to write Happy Mother's Day in the centre. The question I often get asked is, do you sketch out your design in advance with a pencil? And the answer is no, I just jump into it. Quite often this means that I make mistakes and sometimes things will be off center. So if you want it to be perfect first time, I recommend using a pencil just so you know that the calligraphy will land where you want it to. So I'm just creating this style still in the middle. So if anyone's interested to learn bounce calligraphy specifically, it is going to be the next module in my calligraphy confidence course, so definitely go check that out. The next step for this card is just to grab my yellow pen and just go around the card drawing little yellow circles. And you want to make sure they're fairly spaced out because you're going to be adding petals around them to create daisies. And you don't want it to be too systematic. You want it to look kind of looser. And try not to go overboard when you add the yellow dots. You can always add more in later, but it's hard to take them away. So now that I've created the yellow dots, I'm just going to use my brush pen to create the petals. And I'm going to angle my brush pen slightly higher, so I'm using the tip of the pen. I'm not pressing too hard, it's not going to damage the pen. And I simply do daisy shapes. Oh, sorry, before I do that, draw a circle around the yellow dots, around the yellow circle, and then I add petals. And I rotate my card as I go, and this ensures that the petals that I create are going to be the same height throughout. If you keep your card at one angle, it's likely that your petals are going to end up at a slight angle as you create petals around the flower. So it's easier to rotate the card. Okay. And you really don't have to worry about it being perfect. Occasionally I'll kind of go behind the petals I've created and just create another petal just to fill in the white space if it's too much. And don't worry if the circle you've created around the yellow circle isn't perfect and has slight white space. It really doesn't matter. This isn't meant to be perfect. So as you can tell, this one takes some time. It's nice and easy to do, but it is more time consuming, which is another reason why you don't want to add loads of yellow dots, otherwise it's going to take a very long time to go in and add all the petals after. I've actually been very clever in scheduling this Facebook Live for Mother's Day cards, because it means that I've created one for my mum and my partner's mum as well, so it reduces my work later on. If you go right to the edges, I recommend having some paper underneath, just to avoid getting pen on the table. Okay. Getting there. So I've almost done with this, with all the circles I've created. Okay, so I added the yellow circles and then I went in with a brush pen to create the petals. There's a couple of bits of white space here that I'd like to fill in. So what I'm going to do is bring my yellow brush pen back and create a circle down here and a circle here, and just fill out that white space so it's more consistent. So again, circles around and then add petals remembering to rotate the card as I go. And it's a bit simpler when you create this design around the edges because you could just draw lines. Last one. And if you have any questions about this design, pop your question in the chat and I'll answer it before I move on. Okay, so I'm just going to have one last look. I think there's just a little bit of white space here, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and just create a few petals, just as though there's a daisy around the edge. And I'm going to resist the temptation to add even more because it could be easy to go overboard. So something you might want to do is add a yellow shadow to the calligraphy, or you might decide to create the calligraphy in yellow. It's up to you. I personally preferred it in black. I did try yellow shadow and I preferred just the black calligraphy by itself, but it's up to you. So this is the first design. I really like daisies, so I really like this design. Okay, and I'm going to move on to the next card design. So the next one is another simple design to make. And some may say that it doesn't look very Mother's Day-esque, but I like that it's kind of a funner design. I think, you know, there's kind of stereotypes around Mother's Day cards and Father's Day cards that don't necessarily fit everyone. So I wanted to create a fun design that doesn't involve pink or florals. So for this one, I'm not creating a fancy style of calligraphy. I'm creating like a looser style of calligraphy, and I'm going to create it quite quick. And this brush pen's slightly running out, but I think it adds to the effect of this kind of looser style of calligraphy. So I'm going to create the words in the middle. Okay, so that's the calligraphy in the middle. I am now going to create a fun design around the edge. So this is done simply by zigzags, lines and circles. So it's very simple to create. Zigzag, lines and circles. So I want you to go around the card creating them. Again, try not to overfill the card. You can add more stuff in, but it's tricky to take stuff away. So I'm going to rotate the card as I go. And don't worry too much about, you know, each of these patterns being in the perfect place. It really doesn't matter. I think the main thing is that you have an overall balance and that it doesn't look too squished. So I'm trying to create stuff that looks as though it's going past the edges as well. And I'm creating obviously everything at kind of different angles as I go. So like with the previous card, I'm going to look to see if there's some white space that I'd like to fill in. There's a little bit here, so I'm just going to draw a zigzag coming off, a line here, and a line here. So it's it's quite a unique, fun card, but again, I didn't want the Mother's Day cards to all be pink and florals, so this is a fun idea if you want to do something a bit different. What you can do is add shadows to the calligraphy, so I imagine a really bold colour would look really nice here. I did try adding yellow shadows yesterday, and I think that actually the black and white looks quite effective, but it's up to you. I am going to leave this one in black and white because I like it that way. And then I'm going to move on to the final card. If you have any questions about this design, let me know and I'll answer the question. So the final card is using pink. So we are going to use a pale pink brush pen to create calligraphy, and we're going to create a looser, kind of freer style of calligraphy. So I am just going to kind of do it more quickly. I find that if I create calligraphy more quickly, it creates a looser style. Oh, sorry if you heard that, my belly is rumbling. It's lunch time for me after this. Okay. So that's the kind of looser style of calligraphy I'm going for. And what I'm going to do now is add shadows to my calligraphy. So you want to create the shadows on the right hand side and underneath all of your letters and each stroke. Rather than go right up to the letter, I'm going to leave a bit of a gap though. So I'm going to start creating, and I'm sure you'll soon see what I mean. This takes a bit of a steady hand. I do teach how to create shadows in my calligraphy confidence course that I'm creating. So if you're interested, again, go check that out. Creating shadows takes a bit of patience because it does take quite a while to go through everything. And to make sure that it's steady, you need to go a bit slower as well, which requires patience. getting there. It does take a bit of time. With shadows though, it doesn't have to be perfect because, you know, it's the impact from slightly further away that people are going to see. You know, if they inspect it closely, they might go, oh, there's a slight wobble there, but overall people are going to see the big picture. So now that I've created the calligraphy in the center, I'm just going to create a few kind of sparkles. So like these diamond shapes, circles and dots. I'm going to create with pink first. Oh, and little crosses as well. And then I'm going to go in with black just to add a couple of sparkles in that colour as well. And then I'm going to go in with pink just to add a few more. Okay. So this is the last Mother's Day card I'm going to show today. So let me show this. Oh, I've just noticed a spot where I forgot I had a shadow. Okay. So here is my final design. So let me show you the 3 designs side by side. So there's the pink kind of sparkle one, the very bold one, and the daisy one. So hopefully there is a design in here that you like. And I hope that you have a lovely Mother's Day if you celebrate it. And until then, I'll catch you in the next live video. Bye!